All right, so we are talking about landing pages, right, with Beaver Builder. And what I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about landing pages, and then we're going to get into actually looking at Beaver Builder itself, right? But before we get started, we need to talk about the 9 key items that you need on every landing page and my 9 key mantras, right? So we will look at Beaver Builder, and I'll show you how it works with Beaver Builder. But before we get started, let's talk about landing page components, okay? If you're building a landing page and you don't have a headline, well, you're missing out, right? The headline is that first message people read. Now, sometimes you think, oh, I should put the name of the product I'm selling, right? That's not a headline, right? Think about a headline like this. If you created an ad somewhere, right, you likely had a little bit of text, a sting of text that was like, hey, boom, this is what I'm attracting you with, right? So you might say something like, stop paying for landing page software. Then when you get to the headline should be, stop paying for landing page software. What happens is when people make that connection from I saw something, I clicked, I came over, and I see the same headline, then I go, I'm in the right place, okay? So that's a headline, right? It is not the same as the name of the product you're selling. It's that eye-catching or reinforcing message that you used before to bring people over, okay? The second part, the problem, right? And problem doesn't have to just be one problem, it could be 2, 3 problems. But what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? Now, some of you think, oh, hey, I need to talk about my product, my solution. If you haven't qualified the problems you're trying to solve, you haven't built the relationship yet to the place where you can talk about a solution. So my recommendation, of course, is that you articulate the problem. The benefits, right? Going with you, this is the gain, right? So the problem is the pain, and what you want to do is the pain and then the gain, right? So make sure that you hit the pain and then say, but if you're going a different route, look at all the gain, right? Then you get to the actual solution, right? Solution is this is what I'm trying to sell, followed by social proof. Social proof can be, and one of the most common forms of social proof is testimonials, right? People highlighting and messaging why this product is so amazing, right? Then you get to credibility. Credibility is the why should I trust you for this, right? It's different than social proof in that social proof is like, hey, listen to all these other people say how awesome this product is. But when you get into credibility is, if you could buy this same solution from 10 people, why am I the most credible source for you to buy it from, right? Then, of course, you got to have pricing, right? And preferably more than one option of pricing. Your call to action, right? The behavior of buy now, which can be in multiple places, can even happen multiple times on a page. And lastly, your objection mitigators, right? Your objection mitigators are, these are all the questions that are already running, like people already having a conversation in their head. You want to step into that conversation, right? People are already going, well, I have this question or this question or this question. And you go, well, here, let me answer some of those questions, right? So notice we didn't spend a lot of time on this, right? Because by now you probably have landed on more than one landing page. You've seen a lot of these things, right? But this is my checklist, right? If I'm building a landing page, these are the 9 things that I want to see on it. Now, I mentioned something else other than 9 landing page components. I mentioned my 9 mantras when it comes to landing page design and development, right? So let's go over these before I take you into a landing page and using Beaver Builder, right? Landing page mantras, number 1, right? Every campaign needs landing pages. If you're doing anything, if you're promoting anything, if you're creating anything, if you have a campaign, you need a landing page. And you may even need more than one landing page, right? Number 2, we already talked about, match the headline to your ad. If you're bringing people over, make sure those things are connected. Number 3, never shortchange the problem. A lot of times we spend a lot of energy writing about the solution. We don't spend nearly enough time articulating the problem. Really, what I call this in general is called marinating in the problem space, right? You cannot, right? When I was in college, I had a friend come over and say, hey, let's put some steaks on the barbecue. And I was like, oh, I didn't marinate anything. I'm like, no problem. and I grabbed a steak and I threw it into a plastic bag and I threw a bunch of sauce in there and zipped it up and threw it in the fridge. And my buddy looked at me like, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm marinating. He's like, that's not how you marinate. You can't just throw it in for 10 minutes before we put it on the grill. That's going to do nothing. It needed to have been there overnight. More often than not, when someone's talking to us about a problem, we're jumping to a solution. In our head, we're thinking about solution. When we go to write, we don't write about the problem so much, we write about the solution. We're so excited about the solution. You need to shift back into the problem, right? Never shortchange the problem. Marinate in the problem space, because that's where you can, the more you spend time and address pains, the more people start going, yes, yes, I've had that pain, I feel that. Yes, I need you, now you've got me, right? Whatever solution you have, if you're going to solve these problems, I'm interested, right? Number 4, right? Segments need their own pages. Not every person is the same. Not every person will be motivated the same way, right? And so you may want to create more than one landing page for the same product, right? You can have a campaign that gets split by segments, and then each segment should have its own messaging, right? Number 5, eliminate every distraction you can, right? So whether it's your navigation, whether it's a chat bot, well, it's, whatever it is, right? If you have stuff on that page that doesn't drive to the conversion or the intended effect that you want, get rid of it, okay? Number 6, and this is a hard one, right? When you're, this is hard because it's not you standing in front of someone having a conversation. This is essentially a person looking at a screen. And if you go in a lot of different directions, even if conversationally you might be able to pull that off, if you can't do that well on the page, right? People just get distracted. They get distracted by our own copy because they can't follow the line or the thread of that narrative because you're telling 3 stories, right? Sometimes this happens when people have too many segments that they're trying to sell to. Well, if you have this problem, then here's what I want to do. But if you also have this other problem, then I want to tell you this. And by the way, if you're not one of those 2 people, but you have this problem, and you're like, oh my God, right? Like, what are you telling me that this is good for everyone every time? Like, you're like, no, that's not credible. So when we start telling more than one story, it's probably a hint that you may need to segment and you may need to create another landing page, right? Stop trying to put everybody in the same place. You can tell one story, tell it well, right? Number 7, pain always sells better than gain, right? So if you can eliminate pain, right, you're going to motivate a lot more people than if you just say, ooh, look, here's a new little upside for you, right? And that's a hard lesson to learn because so many of us are excited by the gain, right? It's often why we build products, why we build services, is because we're excited about this new thing that could happen. But more often than not, people are motivated by what you can eradicate or the challenges that they're currently facing. They're steeped in those. So pain will always sell better than gain. Number 8, create more than one yes option, right? If you want people to say yes rather than no, if your only option is buy or don't buy, right, you have a 50-50 shot on that. But if your option is buy option 1, buy option 2, even buy option 3, or no only becomes 25% of the case, right? So you want to create more than one yes option, right? Sometimes that means 2 or 3 pricing options that you've created as part of your solution. And lastly, connect your call to action, right? The button that people are clicking or the action they're taking to your headline, right? Some people literally are like, buy now, right? Or submit. If you have buy now or submit, you haven't really leveraged the whole reason they came, right? The message that brought them, that headline. Make the action part of the headline, make it part of the narrative, right? When you do that, people go, oh, yeah, I want to do that, right? And they click the button. So those are my 9 landing page mantras, okay? Those are them. And what I want to tell you is when it comes to building landing pages, right? WordPress and Beaver Builder are my go-to tools, right? WordPress is free. Beaver Builder does have a free light version, but I recommend at minimum the standard product, which is $99. It's $99 for a year, and it's you're not limited by how many sites you build. It is one of the best investments you can make. especially when you're talking about landing page software that charges you anywhere from $50 to $300 a month, right? You'll pay thousands of dollars instead of using tools that more often than not are better integrated with and easier to use and faster to use than anything else. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into code and we're going to create these different parts using Beaver Builder. All right. So I'm going to close that down and get you to take a look at this landing page, right? This is a landing page that I created yesterday at beaverlessons.com, right? Now, just to be clear, this is a fake product, right? Though by the time I was done with it yesterday, I was like, oh, maybe this could be a real product, right? So you'll notice that the name of the product or the product that I'm talking about is not in the headline, right? This is what we talked about. The headline is its own space. When we talk about the problems with landing page software, right, there's a video because you cannot spend too little time or too much time on the pain, right? So here is the pain and then followed by more pain, right? And then you have the benefits, right? Here's a benefit, there's a benefit, everywhere there's benefits. Then we get into the solution itself, right? This is a Beaver Builder or building Beaver Builder landing pages, right? And 17 lessons. And then we have a call to action, right? Followed by, here is our social proof, right? A lot of quotes. And then we have the credibility dynamic, right? Why would you want to learn something from me? We have our options of price. You'll notice the buttons that say, hey, I'm ready to learn or accelerate my results, which are specific to what we were starting to talk about at the top, right? Rather than just buy now. And then you go, wait, I still have some questions, right? And so people can come in and get answers to their questions, right? And go, oh, okay, now I'm ready. And then, oh, here we go. Let's give you another option to make a purchase. So that's our landing page for a fictitious online course related to landing pages using Beaver Builder and WordPress. And now what I want to do is walk you through how we go about doing that, okay? So what I'm going to do is come into the dashboard of WordPress. What you'll see in my appearance is that I've activated a theme. This is a free theme, Astra, right? How do you do that? You go to add new, you come over here, you type Astra, and it'll show it to you, right? Then you can click the button, and when you click the button, you'll first download it, then you can activate it. Astra is a free theme, right? And many of your sites come with like 2017, right? I find that this theme is more helpful. Why is it more helpful? Well, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a new page, right? So this is a second landing page. Now, before I hit publish, I'm going to come over here to these Astra settings. And I'm going to say that I want no sidebar, and I want the full width content, and maybe I even want it stretched all the way to the sides. Disable the header, disable the title, disable featured image, and disable the footer bar. When I do that and I hit publish, what you're going to notice is I've just configured the theme details so that when I go take a look at this guy, there's nothing there, right? Most of the time what happens is you end up putting in a theme and then the theme's like, well, but I got a fixed header or I got a fixed sidebar or I got something else, and then you're gonna have to do code to get rid of it. With Astra, not only is it super lightweight and fast, not only is it really positioned well to work with a tool like Beaver Builder, but you can just turn those things off. So now I have a blank canvas to do what I want, right? And when I want to do that, I can click Beaver Builder, and that will initiate right away the use of Beaver Builder on that page, right? And one of the things we're going to do right off the bat is learn to use rows, right? So I can say I want to get a two column row, right? And in this 2-column row, I can say that's good. Now I'm in a happy place. I have a row. This is going to be my header row. So I'm going to click on the wrench to make some adjustments. And the first adjustment is I want full width. And even the content, I want full width. I want to go end to end on this thing. I also want to go into the background and I want to change it to a color. I want to change it to a photo. I'm going to come over here and select the photo, which is already in my media setting, and I'm going to change it to the large size, right? And now you'll see, there it is. There's the photo behind my panel here, and you can move this guy anywhere you want. including pinning it to the ends. That's that blue line. And you can see that it's there, but you know I'm going to put some content here, and I'd like it to be a little taller. So I'm going to make an adjustment over that in the advanced section in just a second. But I'm also going to come back over here, and I'm going to go to my background overlay. And my background overlay, I'm going to pick a color, right, like orange, and I'm going to even change this to say 70%, which is going to make it more orange, right? Now I'm going to go to my advanced, and in my padding, right, I can give this padding 100 pixels on the top and bottom, right, so that I have some space around where I'm going to put the text. And I can even move this dynamically over, right, to say 70%, right, and say, now here's where I want to put the title, okay? I can hit done right now and hit publish and just go, okay, look, whereas before there might have been a header, there might have been navigation, there might have been a website title, there might have been a page title. I can get rid of all that very, very easily, okay? So now I have this guy, but you'll remember over here, right? Let's go back over, take a look. Over here, there's text here, right? So we're gonna have to set up some text. Now, in order to do that, before I get into that, I wanna come into Customize, which is the customizer, and I wanna go to Typography, and I wanna set up some typography at the beginning, right? So here I have this as a font automatically. I want the normal 16. So here's the settings there. For headings, I want it to be Archivo narrow and bold 70, right? So I have that base there, right? And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me, when I put in content, Beaver Builder will use the defaults of the theme, right? Whatever you have. So I don't have to do anything special now. So I'm going to click this Beaver Builder up here. And when I do, I'm going to come over and take a look at my options. And here in my options, I have a heading. And I'm just going to drag that from the palette into this space. When I drag it, I get to write this, right? I get to write that, no problem, right? I can decide in the style to change that color, right? But I'm not going to do that, and I'll show you why. I can make it left aligned. I can change it to an H2 tag if I want, right? I can even change specifics of the font sizing. If I wanted to make that bigger, even though I have it marked as H2, I can change other things, line height, letter spacing. There's a lot of things I can do. So if I wanted to tighten that up, right, I could come over here and put -1. You'll see it make an adjustment right there, right? And I'll hit save. Now you may wonder, why didn't you change that to white? And I'm going to show you, because I'm going to come to this wrench and I'm going back to the whole row. And in the whole row, it says, what color text do I want? And I can change it here so that I don't have to do it for every element. I can say all the text should default to white in this row, right? So hopefully that makes sense, right? So we now have a header area with text. We can adjust the percentages and how this plays out, right? So that we start seeing how we did this. That's regular text we put underneath. But now we have another area, and this column, right, we're going to come in and say, oh, this is just a one column row. So we'll drag it to the bottom of the page, place it there. You will notice again that it automatically puts it in the middle. It gives it a fixed contained area. I could make it wider, but in this particular case, I don't need to. I can come back over here and grab another heading, right, and say, this is my video. Come over to style again, make it center aligned, make it an H2, hit save. That'll change the sizing, and it will put it in the middle. Now I want to put a video, right? I can come to YouTube, come to my creator area, go to that video, come down to sharing and embed.
You have ever bought.
Here are my embed settings. I can change this, right? So I get just the embed settings I want, copy it, come back here. Now you're going to see that there's a video component that I'm going to drag into the right spot. And instead of video type library, media library, I'm going to put an embed and paste the embed code. And there's my video, right? You go, wow, that's actually pretty fast and pretty easy. You go, yep, but there's more, right? Because we didn't just use video for pane, we also created 4 more callouts to pane. And so let's do that, right? I'm gonna come here, come into our row, grab a 4-column row, drag it down underneath it, and you'll see 4 little spaces immediately created there. And I can come over here and say, okay, what I want is, I want a call out. So I'm going to drag this call out. Now a call out is one of those things that has a title, it has text, it even can have an image or icon, right? And so what I'm going to do is say, this is my first pane eliminated, right? And say, this is all the details that you need to know about this pane and how it gets eliminated, right? And then I can come in to style that and say, I want it to be center aligned. I want it to be an H4, right? Default heading size. In my image, I can make it an icon. Beaver Builder lets you immediately pick icons from a whole list of them, right? So I can put one of those guys there and I can say, I want it to be above the heading. I can even change the color of that. And let's see, change the size too, right? So all of a sudden, I've created one little call out. Now, I could do this all again for the next one, the one after that, and the one after that, except that I made some settings, right? I made a decision that this would be an H4. I made a decision on the size of that icon and the color. So rather than recreating it over and over, right, I can use this duplication icon to make another one and then drag it into here. And then I can duplicate it again and drag it into here. And then I can make another duplicate and drag it into here. And now, right, when I click into this guy, I can say this is my second, save, and click into here, and this is my third, and this is my fourth. And I can go into the image, right, and I can just hit replace. And you'll see that I have now the 4 panes right here with icons and colored, much like we did right here, right? So then we're going to step into benefits, right? So I always do this, right? When I'm in the middle of something and I'm taking a little break, I'll just save it, right? Because who knows what might happen. And so as I do that, right, I'm going to get ready to do the next panel, right? The next panel is all about benefits, okay? So let's come back in here, hit Beaver Builder, right? And now what we want to do, you remember that those were a lot of 2-column rows. So we're going to come under here and create the column. Now, when I do that column, I'm going to come in and hit that wrench and say this is full width, okay? And full width on the content width. But that's still going to get me spacing around it, right? So I'm going to come into here and make sure that there are zeros in my margins and paddings. That's going to get us all the way to the edges, right? And now I can come in here and I can say, okay, in this guy, I want to add a photo. And pick one of the photos that was there. And one of the things I'm going to do here, right, is in the cropping, I'm going to choose panorama. Now, why do I do that? Because if you take a look at this, this is a standard photo, right? And you can see the overall height of that, right? And I don't want that height. I want to bring it down so that it's a little shorter, right? And that way I don't have as much text, and it's not going to look jarring that I have a smaller amount of text and still such a big photo, right? So in the cropping area, I'm going to use the panorama to immediately make this less tall, right? And I'm going to hit save. Okay. Now, in this photo itself, I'm going to hit the wrench again and go to advanced and make sure that I zero out these guys, right? And what that does, every time you add an element, there are some, Beaver Builder gives you some defaults, right? When you add a row, Beaver Builder goes, let me put some margin around that to protect you. When you add a picture inside, let me put some margin, some padding around it to protect you. And you go, yes, but in this particular case, I want to eradicate it, right? Now, the same thing would happen if I go to the next row and the row after that, right? But we'll come in here and we'll say, okay, we know we need to add a heading, right? We can do left aligned, bring it back up to heading 2, right? If structurally this isn't a heading 2, if you want to cascade down, you can always change it to heading 3. You obviously have control over that, right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add text editor, right, below it. And the text editor says, right, so here's my text. Now what you're going to notice is you go, oh, hold on, I'm seeing that this with no margins is kind of a problem. So there's another little guy in here, right, in the column settings that would allow you to say, oh, I would like to put some padding, right, left and right. So you might say, okay, let's put 20 here, and on the right, let's put 20 here. And that is just in this column, right? So a lot of times people think, oh, if I did this, if I made this one setting in the row, I'm done with, there's nothing else I can do. But that's not true, right? You still have column settings you can manipulate, okay? So then we'll come back and we'll say, well, it's this guy again, we can do another one of these, right? This is our benefit number 3. We'll come in here, right? And we will change this guy to something different. Right? So we have 2 different ones here, and this, by the way, is our 3rd benefit. And then we know we have to create one more, right? So we'll come into the row, 2 column row. Now, you've seen me add rows at the very bottom of the page, but that's not where it only sits, right? You can just come right in between these 2 and add a new row, right? That's how we did that right there. Super easy to do, right? So we'll come in here, we'll do the same kind of stuff. Come in and say it's full width on the content, right? Come over to our advanced, zero everything out. And now what we want to do is in this right side, we want to add another photo. And we'll make this the panorama. Come to here and zero it out. Okay. And now you're getting that effect that you saw earlier, right? Where the border or the edge of one corner touches the corner of the next, touches the corner of the next. It's a particular look. You don't have to do it that way. You can do benefits any way you want. I'm just trying to show you all of what's possible here, right? And again, over here, you know that you would go and do the same thing, right? Adding this stuff. Right now, what I can do is I can make a duplicate of the title and drag it over, make a duplicate of the text, right? This is for the lazy folks. And then you'll recall that what I want to do is tap into the column settings here, right? And make sure that I get, I don't remember if it was 20, but at least that will give you the point of what we're talking about. So we've now created the benefits section, right? Looking very similar to, oh, I don't remember what happened to this guide. I don't think I deleted it. Let's try and refresh it. Oh, there it is. That's good, right? So you'll see we've done the same thing that we did over here. And now it's time to put in our text for the actual product, right? I'm going to cheat by collecting a lot of this automatically, right? But what you'll see here is this is just 2 columns where I decide where I want to put the line, right? And just text. So it's not super complicated. We're going to come over here and hit Beaver Builder again. Come into our rows, grab 2, come all the way to the bottom, right? In this guy, we can leave it, right? Because it's white, we can leave it without going all the way to the end. We can shrink this down, right? So let's say it was 35%. Again, a designer would tell you, never do this, right? Never create all these weird different alignments. You should create some alignment. I'm not trying to show you the perfect design. What I am trying to show you is all the features of what's possible with Beaver Builder, right? In here, we're going to create another little image, right? Which is my favorite little photo of every beaver ever, right? Which is a version of beaver that is me, right? We'll shrink this down to 300. So there's me. And now we're going to come in here and we're going to edit the text. I'm going to paste in a lot of text, right? Now, you'll notice there's no title there. So I still got to come in and put a header title. But here there's a lot of text, right? And we're going to come in here and grab a title. We can leave it left, right? Move it up. That's all fine. We could do more, right? We can come in here and in our advanced, our bottom could 0, right? Which you might have seen that in the background. It immediately pulled it in a little tighter. So if you felt like, oh, there's too much space there, I can tighten that up, right? Now, one of the things that you see in here, and it's one of those dynamics of contrast that's really powerful when you're building landing pages. If you've ever seen landing pages, you'll see this notion of highlighted text, right? This text that is just like, ooh, check it out, right? So I want to show you how we do this highlighted text. It's so easy, it's kind of crazy. So I'm going to come into our text editor, right? Scroll to the bottom. Here are the bonuses that are included, right? And I'm going to hit enter, right? And I'm going to start writing. Okay, now we have 2 little paragraphs, and what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to make it bold, right? And one of the price of this course, right? Make that bold. Now, what we've done is we've just added a tag around each of these phrases that is the tag for strong. Strong is a tag that now says it's bold. When I click, right? And by the way, I can move this over. I can even stretch it a little bit so you can see it better, right? When I click on this text, I'm going to go back and see this code. And there's the strong that I was talking about. So now what I can do is put mark around strong, right? And you go, oh, but I don't know who Mark is. And you go, yep, nope, that's okay. All you're doing is you are marking it as super important. And I do it outside the strongs, and I do an entry and an exit to each of those tags. And now I have highlighting automatically just because I marked the text, right? So that gets us to the end of that section, right? And what you see, right, is that when we get to the end of that, we have one of our first call to actions, right? Or our main call to action in here. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to hit Beaver Builder again. We're going to come into this section and we're going to look for the call to action. and I'm going to drag the call to action to the bottom of the page, right? And you'll see that it already puts information here, right? Puts text, so you can just change this, right? Don't you want to buy my product? And come on, the original. Everyone else says no. All right, that's probably not the text you want to help you win a deal, right? But that's not the point here. I'm going to come into this row setting, and now I'm going to make it full width, but I'm going to leave the content width fixed. What that means is it's going to leave the text in the middle section, right? Even if the background's going to extend to the end. Why is that important? Because when I come over here to the background, right, and I make it a color, and I choose a color, right, and I can come back up to the text like we did before, right, and I can say it's all supposed to be white. It'll change to white on the orange, right, which is good. I'll have this all set up, but you'll notice, hey, the button's wrong, right? So we'll click in here and we'll go to our button. Now, you still have the same ability to do all the different stuff with styling, right? Change this to an H2 if you wanted, right? Change the colors. You have all that ability, but I'm going to focus on the button, right? And there's our button, right? Buy now. Of course, what you really want to do is and you could put an icon, right? I'm going to leave this there. You're going, yeah, but I can't see it, Chris, right? Because we have to adjust the coloring. So the button color, the background, we're going to make this white. Okay. And when it hovers, we're going to make it not white. The text color, right, is going to be orange, which is going to make you see it. And when it's hovered, it's going to be white. So when we roll over this, it's going to change colors. We also get to decide if we want it to be flat or gradient or transparent. We can change the font size, right? We can say, no, let's make it 18, right? We can also change the padding if we wanted and the rounded corners, right? Make it even more roundy. That's what we want. And that will get us our button. Now, where does the button go? We're going to come back to that in just a second, okay? So now we have this piece. What's next, right? Quotes and testimonials, right? So I'm just going to cheat and grab this. Now, Beaver Builder has a testimonial piece, but I'm not using it in this case. And the reason I'm not using this is because their testimonials do a little bit more like a slider of a testimonial. So you see many of them, and I don't want that. I want to show them all, right? So I'm just going to use a regular text editor, right? And I'm just going to come in here and paste this guy. And I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to cheat and do the same copy. So now you have the same quotes twice. It's not perfect, but for our example, you don't want to see me spending time typing. And you go, but wait, Chris, there's a title missing. And one of the things I want to show you is the fact that you can put in the title after the fact, right? I can come in here and grab a heading, and I can still, there's a whole benefit of drag and drop. And you'll notice that when I get down here, I could create a brand new row, but instead what I want to do is go a little bit deeper into it, right? So that I'm now in that section and put it right above those guys, right? And so I'm going to go into style, right? Center align it. And now I have testimonials, right? Can you use their testimonial plugin and just do a slider? Yep. Also, Ultimate Beaver Builder add-ons, Ultimate add-ons, Beaver Builder Ultimate add-ons, I think is actually the official name, has additional modules you can buy that specifically do testimonials. So there's a bunch of others out there, right? But now we have our testimonial section, right? And below the testimonial, we get, this is social proof. This is why, this is our credibility dynamic, right? So we're going to come in. It's not hard, right? Same kind of thing. In fact, I can duplicate this whole guy because there's still 2 columns with a title, right? And I can say put that guy there. I can actually change it to make it left aligned if I want. I can come back into the row and make it full width, even though the content is still fixed. And I can come back to the background and make it a color. Whoops. I can remove all of this guy, right? Actually, let me just. So I still have the column, but I removed the text that was in it. And now I can come over and I can add my photo. And now we have this guy. Oh, but remember, this is the wrong text. So we'll come in here. So now we have the text, right? And then I think we get to pricing, right? Here's our pricing grid. So as you can see, we're moving pretty fast, right? Now, granted, I'm not writing every single line of text from scratch, but we are moving pretty fast to build all this pieces, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, and this is counterintuitive, I'm going to use a 3-column spacing, right? Three column row. And you're going to go, wait, why 3 columns when the pricing was 2 grids, right? 2 items. But what you'll notice when you see this is that I have a little space on the left and a little space on the right. So these 2 guys are in the middle of something, right? So what I'm going to do is come back over here and I'm going to immediately move this guy down to 20. And I'm just showing you that this is possible, right? That you can easily come down and say, what I want to do is I only want the pricing to sit in the middle. And now Beaver Builder has a fantastic pricing table that I'm going to drop right into there. And it says, okay, we're going to design some pricing boxes. So let's do this, right? And so you get a title, right? This is my first plan, right? And you can decide how big you want that, right? Let's make it a little bigger. I can put in the price, right? I can even put it per year or not, right? I can choose the size of the price, right? So we'll map it up to that guy. Then I get this ability to do features, right? And so I go, oh yeah, here, let's add that one. And you know, it saved my stuff ready. And when I hit save, what you're gonna see is that it already created this for me, right? First plan, the 2 items, the get started button, right? Now I can add another pricing box and say, this is my second plan, right? Make this 30, 99. And then these features, I can do the, yeah, let's get lifetime access and let's get a discount and let's get tear down feedback, right? And hit save. Now I have 2 of these guys, right? 2 guys like the last one, except you're noticing it's very gray, right? So I can come into style, right? Or actually I do it in each one, right? So let me come in here, right? I come into the button and the style here, and in the button, right, it says get started, and I say, no, right? Let's get our learn. This is probably too long, right? But let's get our learning on, right? And I can come in and say, what's the background color of this, right? And I can come over here and pick crazy color, right? And I can pick the text to be right, white, flat, okay. This is all fine, right? Full width, which means it goes across the whole piece, align it center, the fonts, all that's fine. And then I go into the style and I go, what's the border? I don't mind a border gray, but the accent color here, right, should be one of the things we were looking at before. Like that, right? And you'll notice right off the bat, right, if I close this off, that now it looks a lot like our other one. We have gray on the outside, we have this color, and you're probably going, hold on a second, why is this pink, right? Why wouldn't I use my accent color? The problem is that we have it as an accent color, right? This is the accent. So we have it everywhere. And if I want to drive the conditionality here, people going, oh, when I see this, I click, I can't make it my accent color. They've seen it everywhere, and it's not actually the button press. So I want to make it a completely different color than my accent color. So you have a main color, you have an accent color, you're going to want a button color that's totally separate, right? Which of course Beaver Builder lets you do. And of course I would do this the same there. Now we're close, we're almost done. We're not all the way there, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this because you'll remember that we had this pricing twice, right? But in between we have a whole nother column, so or another row. So let's do that now, right? I'm going to come in and grab a 1-column row, put it in between, right? We're going to make this full width, fixed, background color, light gray, right? We're going to have a title, which is a heading. Make it an H2 and make it centered. And then we have our last component to add. We get down here, right? And we go, let's pull in the accordion. You go, what's an accordion, right? An accordion lets you create an FAQ, a set of frequently asked questions, where they open up one, it closes the others. And so we come in here and we go, okay, let's do this, right? So what's the label? What's the question, right? Will this course expire? No, it will never expire, right? That's one of them, right? Let's go and add another one, right? Do I need to know anything before I take this course? And then once we have these guys, we have 2 of these guys, we can come in here and style them, right? We can style them and say, oh, you know what if I want the border to stand out more, right? Then I could pick a completely different color, right? And say, yeah, let's put these borders around. You'll see the orange appeared right away. If you want to do that, you can also make the label larger so that people can see the questions broader. You can change the item spacing, right? And you hit enter, right? And now we hit done. And in less than an hour, right? Granted, you have to know what you're typing, you have to have the images. There's definitely other things you have to have, but what we've done is shown you a variety of different ways you can use what's basic in Beaver Builder, right? What is just comes with the product, right? To create a compelling landing page, right? And this, of course, is the fast version, the one that took just a little bit longer, right? I think I spent an hour and a half, but that's including creating all the actual content, picking images and writing this stuff up and recording a video, right? But with Beaver Builder, it makes it super easy and super fast. And so with that, I'll come back to my, let's see, where's my slides, right? And just end it with questions. We'll open it up for questions. Again, my name is Chris Lemma. I work at Liquid Web as the VP of Product. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Lemma. I'm going to jump into the questions section and see if anybody has asked any questions. And of course, if you have any, you can go in there. Of course, the most common question we get is, hey, is this going to be recorded? And the good news is it has been. It's been totally recorded. And we will get this recording to you by the end of tomorrow sometime, right? So with that, I will open it up in case any of you have any questions. All right, first question came in from Wyatt that says, hey, Chris, do you only use Astra theme for landing pages or for sites in general? We use it for sites in general. We did a test of about 50 different themes, particularly as it related to speed and performance for WooCommerce stores, and discovered that Astra was the fastest, beat out a few by just a little bit, but still was the fastest. And so we give it to all of our WooCommerce customers. And I use it for a bunch of stuff because it is light and easy. Also, Beaver Builder in their larger packages comes with a theme that is also incredibly useful. So I use that one a lot too. So Beaver Builder's theme that comes with their product if you buy the right tier, and Astra, which is free, but also Astra has a pro version that comes with another plugin. Those are 2 of my default ones all the time. All right, this is Carrie asking, hey, do you apply any SEO techniques to your landing pages, i.e. headers appropriately organized? Absolutely. So that's why I said, hey, I'm just doing these all as H2s, but you could easily go in and say, let me create better structure here. So by all means, you could do that. Again, not the point of what I'm trying to do with Beaver Builder and for this webinar, but yes, you would want to do that. You would also look at your copy itself, right? And make sure you're telling one cohesive narrative. Also, you can use Yoast SEO plugin, right? And you can create excerpts, and there's a lot more you can do. Again, the point of this webinar wasn't to showcase all of the SEO techniques, but Carrie, you're absolutely right. You would definitely do that. Cindy just said very nicely that this was worth the hour, so thank you very much. What do you gain? Stacy says, what do you gain by using Beaver Themer that is not available in Beaver Builder? So when it comes to a landing page specifically, I don't need Themer in my world. Someone else may have a reason to use Themer in their world. I love Themer, but I find that Themer is way more useful to me when I'm building a site because it allows me to create dynamic content, dynamic layouts and components that are tied to, let's say, the actual post, right? So I can take the post title and inject it into a graphical display of it, or I can take some post meta and put in something. A landing page is different in that I'm not actually trying to pull anything from the database. I'm trying to create and put it on the page. So I haven't seen the need in the tons of landing pages I've created with Beaver Builder. I haven't seen the need for Themer as it relates to landing pages, but I do think it's incredibly powerful when it comes to the rest of your website. So hopefully that answers that question. All right. So Brian says, I'm a web guy with local clients, all hosted on Liquid Web. Thank you so much. If someone were using lead pages, for instance, what would be the range of charges to build something like this? Well, it all depends, right? If you're using lead pages and you use a lead page template, and the template has most of this already, then the cost for a customer is probably pretty low. But if they don't have a template like this and you're starting from scratch, you might spend several hours, in which case cost might be a little higher, right? So it totally depends. But the challenge, of course, with using lead pages and the templates is that you're likely to end up with a template that looks very similar to the next guy's template and the guy after that, right? So that is one of the challenges when you're using landing page software, right? Not the end of the world, but definitely something, right? So Jeffrey said, hey, Chris, does it matter what the URL of the landing page is in relation to the domain? Yes and no, right? Like on the one hand, no, you can put it anywhere. That's how Unbounce works, Lead Pages works, all those guys. You can end up creating a dedicated domain somewhere else and then routing people over. On the flip side, it's really easy if it's your main domain, right? So I love using Beaver Builder because I can create landing pages all I want in the actual domain where I want it to be. But there's, it's not the end of the world if you're going to put it somewhere else, right? So Cindy asked, are these landing pages standalone? Yes, right? So a landing page is somewhat standalone, except there are different kinds of landing pages. You might have a pass-through, right, where you're giving a bunch of information and routing them with a button off to something else, in which case what matters is the next piece. Or you may have someone doing an order, right? When they click a button, you're taking them to checkout. There's some dependency there. Or you may let them check out right there, but then you take them to a thank you page and you're going to do some additional work on the thank you page, upsell, cross-sell, other things like that. So one-time offers. So in that scenario, you might get to a place where you realize, oh, hey, there's some dependencies between those, right? Brian Thompson said, I use Astra BB Ultimate add-ons from Beaver Builder to expand my service offerings. That's awesome. Way to go. Stacy says, thanks. James says, do you recommend any tools to enable Beaver Builder to be a landing page to direct shoppers to Amazon? You don't need any other tools, right? When you have that button, right, on the landing page, if that button's trying to get you to an Amazon page, put the link to the button, right? I mean, if you had this incredible offer that you were, the product that you were selling on Amazon, you can still create a landing page on your website or anywhere else, and then point them back over there, right? People make good money with affiliates going to other places, so you could totally do that as well. All right. With that, I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I hope you learned a lot, and I hope this was helpful, right? And I see I have one last question from Cindy. I'm confused as to the relationship between a website and landing pages. If you have an existing site with a different theme, I would need to create the landing page with a different URL. No, you would not. What happens is, and this is why I showed you Astra at the very beginning, a theme that lets you create a page and then take all the normal components like the header and the footer and the featured image and the title off, which means you have a blank canvas. So even if your theme was blue and purple, you can create a landing page that's green and white. Even if your theme was sidebarred and 3-colored, you can have a landing page that is no sidebar. That is the benefit of using a theme like Astra, or like Beaver Builder's one that comes with their more premium product line, is that you can control on that specific page. So you can have all the rest of your website and then create landing pages that remove a lot of the distractions. So hopefully that makes more sense and I was more helpful there.